let's talk about some of the new longer-term visas in Thailand. Why do you think the government is only now introducing these visas? Because it's clear that foreigners who don't earn money here are spending money they made somewhere else. So they've got to be a significant boost to the Thai economy, just like short-term tourists are. So why is the government doing it now?
Okay. Well, first things first, thank you for having me here, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to you about some very critical issues facing Thailand and the Asia Pacific travel and tourism industry with visas, in a way, and visas and the entire gamut of issues facing facilitation into this part of the world, in and out of this part of the world, really very much topical at the moment. Now, specifically, I just want to give a little bit of background, perhaps, to place your question into context, which will give it some context, really, in terms of why it has come to this stage. If you rewind the clock to 1980s, when the boom of Thai tourism was just beginning to start, the visa facilitation, particularly the visa-free policy, was critical to the success of Thai tourism in the 1980s. At that time, of course, visas were only given to the industrialized countries, basically Europe, the United States, Canada, Japan, New Zealand, the industrialized countries. And there were only about 30 of them at that time. So basically what happened was that because all the tour operators, all the major airlines were all sort of Europeans and Americans and Australians, opening up that access was fundamental to that initial growth curve of the Thai tourism industry. And in those days, everybody used to get a 15-day visa, no questions asked. And you could come there and have a pretty good time because the tour packages were pretty much tailored around that 15-day framework. So that really laid the foundation. And once you have visa-free, obviously, then you get a whole bunch of other things, which is because it's actually core. If you get the visas, free facilities, the airlines are willing to start opening up routes to those particular destinations. The hotels, investors, and others then come up. The tour operators then start packaging the product. So everything is fundamental around the visa issues. Now, fast forward to today, we are just coming out of the COVID period. So for the last 30, 40 years, Thailand's maintained that visa-free policy. Over the years, they've grown the number. After the end of the Cold War, you had all the new countries that came on board, that came out in Europe, and a lot of them got visa-free. Then you had the ASEAN integration, and that also became visa-free travel. And then you had new countries coming in like South Africa. So these countries have all been very, very critical towards the progressive growth of visas and their linkage to the growth of Thai travel and tourism over the years. Once you have the visas, you get the airlines. Once you get the airlines, you get the hotels. Once you get the hotels, you get the tour operators, and da-da-da. So that becomes then core. Now, fast forward to today, and you've got a situation where basically the industry bottomed out after COVID, and now the prerogative is to get industry back up again. Now, travel and tourism is not just an economic driver and a job creator for Thailand, it's actually part of the national security system. Because the number of jobs that are now dependent on travel and tourism, if there is another crisis or a catastrophe, anything anywhere near similar to what we had with COVID, I mean, an economic problem, a commercial problem will very quickly cascade into a social, cultural, political problem at the grassroots if those jobs get eliminated. There are almost about 4 million jobs, direct and indirect jobs, dependent on the Thai tourism industry. That's how much it has become, because in 2019, Thailand got a phenomenal 40 million visitors. Now, if you calculate 40 million visitors, that's on, say, with the hotel infrastructure that is here to cater to that, the number of people you need to be working in the hotel industry, in the tour operators, in the convention sector, et cetera, is quite phenomenal. The last study calculated that number at about 2 million, 2.5, 3 million jobs, direct and indirect jobs dependent. The other aspect of that is at this moment, and these are proven statistics, in Thailand today, there is an inventory of 800,000 accommodation units every day that need to be filled. 800,000 per night that have to be filled, both by domestic and international tourists. So 800,000 units means this is the most perishable product that we have right now. And again, it involves jobs. It involves people who have invested in those properties, whether they are bungalows or guest houses or hotels or Airbnb or whatever else. And at the end of the day, those people have got bank loans. They need to repay all that investment. These people also need to get the return on investments for their products. So the combination of this entire package means that you have to keep the doors open, and that, of course, means basically having to get the visas opened up. And that is why Thailand now has actually, because of the imperative of getting the economy back up to speed after COVID, has used again that visa facilitation tactic as being the best, the fastest, the cheapest, and the most efficient way of getting the numbers back.